not despise small beginnings. I've seen God use the small to make just great. And so that's exactly where you two are going.
It starts as a seed, it grows into a bush, the bush turns into a tree, and the tree attracts everything it needs, and it covers territory. You see the tree that's inside the seed. I give him permission to put this seed in the ground in LA, in California, in the United States, in North America, and in the world.
All right, many blessings. Pastor Halton here from 633. It is the last Wednesday of the month, and we have our live. So I am very excited to be here and also being joined by two amazing people. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We'll start here with Angie.
Hi guys, I am back. I'm actually really nervous because I haven't been on live for like a while, so I'm kind of rusty. But it's really good it's good to be back.
Hi everybody. I'm also back, and hopefully the Word of God blesses you in this moment. We're talking about influence.
Influence. That is the season that we're going, or the series that we're going into. So we are talking about influence, and hopefully this conversation is a blessing for many of you guys. So once you tune in, give us a like and share so that we can reach many more people. So how was everybody doing? Let's start with the conversation very light. How are you doing?
Awesome.
All right.
I'm really, really good. I don't even know what to start of growth. And it's definitely like this topic is, I feel like now this generation is just based off influence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this topic is something that I feel like we need to talk about, because a lot of people in my generation they're influenced by everything, music, you name it, people, movies, anything. So I think talking about this topic can help those kind of like struggling to find the right people to be influenced by. So
Yeah.
How about you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I've been trying to see, like, because you've been giving us this teachings. I mean, this month of influence, and I've been trying to look to see, like, we as women, what can we be influenced on, you know? Sometimes we think that because we don't do certain stuff, or we think that we're not an expert in certain things, that we can be influenced in so many different areas. So I've been thinking so much about, like, okay, what is my influence? You know, like, there's housewives, there's people that actually work, people that are just like, you know, they're doing something different. So I was trying to figure out, like, man, like, we all the women, we are all different, and also, man, we're gonna talk about both, but we're women. like how can we influence other people, you know, especially when you are in certain circumstances that you feel that you feel down, those strongholds that hold you back, that you feel that you can influence nobody else because of the stage that you think you are in. So that's what I've been thinking.
Yeah. So let's first start by defining influence, because I think once we define it, we can be able to get a direction. Because, yeah, I mean, a lot of people believe that influencing has to do, especially now in the age of social media, influencing has to do with like TikTok or, you know, whatever social media platform people use. But let's find out what influence is first. Because once we know what that is, then we can see if we have the capacity to do it or not. Because, you know, some people, like you were saying, oh man, I'm a housewife, how can I influence? Oh, I don't have a certain job, how can I influence? Oh, I don't have a degree, how can I influence? And influence goes beyond titles, goes beyond degrees, goes beyond positions, it goes beyond many things. So, you know, case in point, you know, you look at social media, you have all of these people that have none of them, yet they are pushing their influence on so many people. So we can't say, oh, I'm a housewife, I don't have influence. Oh, I don't have I don't have influence. No, you have influence. But let's see what type of influence and how you can influence people. So influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something. So as women, as men, we all have the capacity to have an effect on the character of somebody. And let's touch that first a little bit, because character, you can influence it in a positive way or in a negative way, because influence has really no boundaries. So you can you can you can you can influence somebody's character in a negative way where it becomes toxic, or you can influence somebody's character in a positive way where you can uplift them and you can help them strengthen areas. So as women, whether you're young or whether you're old, you have the capacity to change the character or help the character of somebody or bring somebody's character down. The question is, how are you influencing and how are you using your power or your influence?
You know, this is one of the things that I was talking with my daughter, that I see different women how they approach certain things, you know? Like for example, me, I'm more like, I talk very like, how do you say, like very like confident, is that the word? I'm more like I don't know if that's possessive or aggressive, a little bit aggressive, like, no, this is how you have to do it. But there's, yeah, and there's other women that are like
assertive,
they're
aggressive,
very calm, and they'll tell you like, no, you know what, you should do this, you should do that. And this is one of the things that I've been seeing about myself, and sometimes I feel kind of like, man, should I be like this person? Because I feel that I'm being very, what was the word, aggressive or very
assertive, confident.
All of the above. You see it as a confident. You see it as a confident. But I'm thinking more about like how we can influence in a different. Like I could have student advice. I can give an advice to the same girl, but my approach and my character is totally not a bad thing, but it's totally different than how the other person could give that same advice, but with a more calm voice, I would say. You know, so how. I'm gonna say like I'm thinking more like I don't know, I just lost it. Like how different we can influence people with our character, but sometimes it could look bad in the person that is very like possessive or very like has a loud voice than the one that has a silent, quiet voice.
Well, yeah, that's what we're saying. I mean, influence doesn't really matter if you influence in a silent, quiet way, or whether you influence somebody because you have a loud voice or aggressive or possessive or whatever it is. Because influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character. So you can affect the character of an individual silently, and you can affect the character of an individual loudly. It just depends. The thing here is not the approach. The bottom line is the effect, which is like, yeah, you're having influence anyway. So the question is, how are we influencing? What is our approach to influence people? How do we help change the character of people? When you come in contact with people, what do you do? How do you use your influence to be able to correct them, strengthen them, encourage them, uplift them, or just keep them in a straight line? You know, I like what Dr. Monroe would say. He would say, sometimes I didn't need to say nothing to anybody.
I was going to go there.
Because the only thing that was needed was my presence. The minute that I showed up, everybody's character changed. Everybody's mood changed. Everybody's situation changed simply because I was in the room. That's influence. And he didn't say a word. It was just his presence. So sometimes we influence people simply by just being in the room. And that's why, you know, when I'm reading this Bible verse also from Matthew 5:13, where it says that your lives are like salt among the people. You know, God really wants us to have a strong character, to have influence. Why? Because he wants to put us in different rooms, in different situations, in different areas, so that when we enter that place, we can influence it and change it for the better. Change the atmosphere. I've gone to places where people have been arguing and they've been fighting and they've been doing stuff, but the minute that I walk into that room, it stops. Simply because I walked in the room. There are people that wanted to sin, that wanted to do stuff, and I walked in the room, they just stopped. Simply because I was in the room. So what God is saying,
I'm the one that when somebody's sad or like, you know, I bring happiness there. I make people laugh.
Yeah, so everybody has a different way of influencing, but we gotta be able to find out how we can use our influence to be able to have an effect on the character of people.
Can I say something? I feel like, in a way, I guess I can only speak through testimony in my life. I said it in the beginning before, but before I was quiet. I didn't talk to anyone, and my life was different. How I lived it. I feel like now I influence a lot of my family to do certain things based off how I live and how they see my attitude, how they see how I react to certain things. To this day, when a conflict happens and I respond with happiness and like just positive energy and just, people expect me to kind of argue back because that's who I was before. So like, but now, the new me, I don't respond like that anymore. So what I've noticed a lot, and this is crazy how we talk about influence, where I have a lot of younger cousins, a lot of younger female cousins. And the way I was like high school and after high school, I was very aggressive when it came down to just conflict. So my family had that vision of me of, if something happens to me, I know she will physically do something to protect me.
Yeah.
My cousins would kind of look at that and be like, I want to be just like that. That's why I feel like your actions, especially what you say and what you do, have a lot to do with influencing other people's character. So I'll tell you right now, like, because of my attitude change, the way I live, what I do, and my daily routine, and it doesn't break, my aunt always tells like my cousins want to be like me. Of course, I always tell them, no, you want to be better, but they want to follow what I'm doing. Like, hey, I want to be like Angelina. This is what I was told. I want to be like Angelina. She's always happy. She's doing what she loves. Nothing bugs her anymore. Like, she's just so happy and joyful. She goes to church. She has a dog, and no one tells her nothing. Yeah. Like, it's just like my cousins.
So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about influence.
Yeah.
So what influenced you? Because you see, that's a character change. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about here. Influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character of something or someone. So you yourself are saying, I didn't used to be this way. I used to fight. I used to talk back. I used to whatever. But now I'm more calm. I'm more quiet. Yeah. My character is changing. Now this has allowed me to be able to influence them. So let's talk about what influenced you then, because something has had to have influenced you in order for you to be able to have that influence on something else.
So obviously you guys did. You guys are my biggest influence. Oh my God, I want to cry.
Say it.
Because who I was in the beginning, I was not happy. And then when I met you guys showed me that joyfulness. And that's what I wanted, and that's what I always looked for. So seeing you guys, like the way you guys live your life, and how you guys literally didn't how you like to say it, you would fall asleep and just forget about every problem, and just you have a good night's sleep, full 8 hours, and it doesn't matter what happened that day. Like, I really looked up to that. I still do. So my biggest influence is obviously you guys, and obviously you, because you're a woman. And I can relate more to you. So I do see you as joyful, happy, despite what's happening around. I see that, you're very confident. You know how to approach situations and the way you talk to people, and that's what I look up to. So seeing you guys preach or talk to people, help people, that motivated me to change who I was, because I know the person I was before, that wasn't supposed to be me. I was supposed to be here for people, helping people, because I love people. And when in the beginning, I didn't think that at all. And you guys changed my perspective on that. Obviously, following the kingdom as well. Just reading how, basically, our manual on how to live life, our Bible, kind of just showed me how this is how it's supposed to be, and this is how you're supposed to be. This is your manual. This is how you're going to live your life. And just seeing all that's what motivated me to change my character and become stronger. Still working on it. It's always, yes. It is a challenge, but you guys are my influence, and it's because of your actions, not only what you guys say.
So you've seen it, right? And that's the thing about influences. And Dr. Monroe would say this. Like I said, Dr. Monroe is had been a big influence on me. Like I said, I've been following him, the teachings of the kingdom that he has taught, his books and all this stuff for over 15 years. So that man definitely, I never met him personally, but he transformed me, my way of thinking, my character. He had a big impact in my life, and he wasn't even close to me. The way that the Bible describes this is that, or even Dr. Monroe will say it is, whatever you don't touch, you can't transform. You can't transform, or you don't engage, or you don't touch. So the Bible is very clear, very adamant about having models, about having mentors, about having people in your life that are going to cause that influence in order for you to be able to transform the character. You can't transform a life that you don't engage. And like I said, we seen your growth, within the last 2 years, 3 years that you've been around us, from how you came to how you're coming out of your shell, how you're growing, how you're developing, and I see this being manifested in your life, not only in your character but also the development. Your development, you're growing. And our goal is to be able to influence everybody in their character as well, because character has to be stable in order for you to be able to be developed. That's why there's an order to it. There's character, there's development, and then there's behavior. A lot of people start behavior, meaning that they modify their behavior, but they're not developed, and they don't have strong character, so they can't sustain it. So they can fake who they are for a little bit, and then they go back to what they really are. So what influence truly is about being able to affect the character, which is the foundation of who you are, so that you can be unmovable and unshakable, and then you can be developed, meaning grown, pruned, cultivated, so that the best that you have can actually come out, and then you can have that behavioral change that is now natural, because that's who you are. You're no longer faking it. There's a mantra out there in the world that says, fake it till you make it. I hate it. Because you're being somebody that you're not until supposedly you get to the place to be what you're supposed to be. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible never teaches you to fake it till you make it. What the Bible teaches you is to work until you get there. So you have to continually work on your attitude, continue to work on your character, continually work on developing your skills, your gifts, ability, until it becomes so natural to you that it becomes second nature, and that's who you become, that's who you are. But it requires for people like us or other people to be like salt, meaning that they have to be sprinkled on you, so that you can be preserved. Salt is to give flavor. I don't know if you ever tried something that has no salt. It just doesn't taste good. So, but the salt comes and it gives you that flavor, that preservation, and that's exactly what God wants us to do. Influence is about preserving people. So you need to be sprinkled into the lives of people, so that you can be able to change that character, and then help them develop until their behavior becomes so natural to them that you can now leave them alone, and they won't flake out. Because most of the time, like I said, people always are on their best behavior in front of you. But that's not what the Bible cares about. The Bible cares about character, because character is unmovable. It doesn't change in front of somebody. It stays the same behind somebody. Like when I don't see you, you should be the same person. Like you shouldn't be Angie, one Angie in front of me, and then another Angie behind me, because just because we're not watching you. That means if you change, it's because the character hasn't been developed or transformed or changed it. So the whole point of you changing your character is now that you have been influenced, like you said, now you can influence other people, because that's the point of influence. The point of influence is not to stay with you. The point of influence is for you to take that and now change the character of somebody else, because somebody else needs to be preserved, be saved as well.
That's good. That was really good.
Yeah, but what do you guys think about?
So one of the things, like for example, us as a woman, like we can influence. Like for example, I have my daughters, my kids. I am influencing them to follow God. Once they see certain characters, certain things that I have been changing, and certain things that they see me praying, they see me reading the Bible, listening to preachings, always every advice that we give, It's about like, you know what, let's see what the Bible says. Let's see what the Word of God says of based on what you're living on, or stuff like that. That that is me or anybody influence the other person, right? Because they take whatever it is that you've taught.
Um, I think, and based on experience and based on what the scripture says, is nobody changes because of what you say to them.
Mm,
I have said so many things to so many people, and they've never changed.
mm,
People change when they have closeness with you, and they change when they see that that your life is exactly what you say it is. And the only way for them to see it is to be able to have that closeness. That's why, this phrase from Jesus, your lives are like salt among the people. It's a reference, of, for women that cook, or men that cook, or anybody that just simply just cooks. You know that the salt has to go into something in order for the salt to be activated and to be able to release the minerals so that this thing can get flavor and be preserved. It has to make contact. So if you want to have influence, you have to have contact with the people you want to influence. So one of the commandments that Jesus gave us as a church, as believers, is you have to love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Because in order for you to do anything for your neighbor, you have to be able to have such self-love for yourself, meaning you, your life has to have been already influenced by the power of love in order for you to do what's right for them. If your life has not been influenced by the power of love, you are not going to be able to do, you're not going to do what's right for them. You're going to do what's right for you. You're going to be selfish. Everything that you do has to have a catch, meaning what's in it for me, what's my benefit, what do I get out of this. It means that it's not centered around the influence of love. It's centered around ego and pride and all of these things. So we gotta be able to see and check ourselves and see, are we truly salt that the only interest is for us to die so that somebody else can live, or are we trying to kill somebody else so that we can stay alive? What is it that we're trying to do? So the only true way to influence the life of other people is when we're selfless, is when we put them before us. And I think I was reading this earlier or Sunday when I was teaching. It said Jesus was talking to them about leadership, and he was saying, hey, leadership amongst you guys, it should not be the type of leadership that you see in the world. In the world, it's like, I'm the boss, I'm the director, I'm the owner, I'm this, whatever. Everybody serves me. Like, everybody in the bottom serves up. But the leadership in the kingdom is servitude from the top down, meaning that anybody that comes to you, you serve. They don't serve you technically. So, yes, they might be under you. Yes, you might cover them. Yes, you might be a spiritual father, whatever it is you are to them. But that doesn't mean that you're superior. It simply means that you're now responsible for their well-being, which means that now you have to lay down your life so that they can live, so they can grow, so that their character can change, so that they can be developed, so their behavior can be different. So it gives you more work. So, but in order for us to be able to do that effectively, we need to be able to have been already influenced by the love of God, by the Word of God, because if that hasn't impacted us yet, like if the Word of God has not changed our character, we can't influence effectively. I mean, we can, but negatively. If we have not been impacted by the Word of God, we can't develop people, because what we're going to want is like, I just serve me, do something for me. But that's not what God sent you here for. God sent you here so that I can do something for you. There's something that I have that you need, So the influence that I have is to change your character. So I have to look at you and you're like, man, you have issues. Let me help you with your character, and I have to influence it. Let me help you develop. Let me see which areas you still are not mature in yet, and let me help develop those areas. And once those two things start coming into play, then your behavior is going to start changing. And once your behavior changes, the less and less you're gonna need me. You have already been influenced. My voice is gonna be in your head every single freaking time you want to do something. Just like the voice of God is in my head every time something shows up, and I'm like, I have an opportunity to do something that I shouldn't do. The voice of God is so penetrated in my head that I'm like, oh God,
That is so true.
I'm not gonna do
That
it.
is so true.
So, but how does that happen? It happens through self-love. It happens through closeness. Like I said, you're not engaged with. And like I said, you've been around us for the last 3 years. Is the reason why you changed. If you would have been at a distance, you would have still been the same, struggling for the same thing. I mean, like I said, you still struggle in other areas, but you're not struggling with the things you were struggling when you came in. Those things are gone. Those are of the past.
Those are not even a thought anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the goal.
Yeah.
And when you came in, is exactly what I told you. It's like, Angie, that for you not to think about these things. It's not about you not doing them. Because you might not do them, but you're thinking about them and you're wrestling with them.
Yeah.
The influence, impact of the kingdom is when you it's no longer in your thought. You can't think about it anymore. So you don't wrestle with sin, and you don't wrestle with this, and you don't wrestle with that. Why? Because the influence has been so impactful that it just blew it out of your mind. And that's the point of influence, is to be able to remove the character flaws, help you develop. Some people are very insecure, and they come and they say, hey, I can't do these things, I'm not worthy of these things, or X, Y, and Z, whatever people say. Development comes in so that we can get all those thoughts and all those feelings and all those things out of you, so that you can go out there and be effective in what God has called you to do. Because while you're underdeveloped, the reason you feel insecure is because you're underdeveloped. Anybody that has not been developed to the level that they need to be developed are very insecure. Hey, you can open up a business. No, I can't. Underdevelopment. That is. Because your mindset is not at the level that it should be, and your character is not at the level that it should be, so you can't withstand this. So you need to be influenced even more and more. So, this whole series on influence is a challenge from God for all of us here, because it's not about manipulating people, and it's not about pushing our desires and will on people. No, it's about helping them transform their character, because it says your lives are like salt among the people, but then it tells you this: but if you, like salt, become bland, how can your saltiness be restored? Meaning that if you lose your influence, how are you going to be able to transform and change things? It is a question.
So losing your influence could be bad character, bad
Yes.
less love.
Well, insecure, I feel like being
Anything that is not at the level that God wants you to be, whether it's insecurities or whether it's you name it, bad character. If those areas have not been influenced, then you can't change the lives of other people either. So it is in our best interest for us to be able to make sure that we have strong character, because if we lose our character, that's what it says, but if you, like salt, become bland, that's like when you lose your character, your trustworthiness, your reliability, you become irresponsible, all these things. How can your saltiness be restored? How can you trust somebody when they have lost their character? That's what it's saying. It's asking, how can, but if you, like salt, become bland, how can your saltiness be restored? Now, it's not saying that it can't. It's asking a question. Because
meaning that, let's say I have a perspective or a view of this person that I see him or her so high, but some character just came out. Let's say chisme, let's say hate or whatever. That's
anything that is beneath, anything that is beneath good morals, good values, and good character, yes, can affect the life of other person. Like, so for example, we're married. We talk about love, we talk about respect, we talk about honesty, faithfulness, all this stuff, loyalty, and then all of a sudden, they find out that you cheated or I cheated. We lost our saltiness because now we impact marriages
Right.
because they have
right.
seen us for the last 21 years, 22 years.
Uh-oh.
They have seen us for the last 22 years stay together, good and bad, always loving each other, always being respectful of each other, always honoring each other. All 22 years, not 1 year, 22 years. And I guess that takes me actually into the next step of what I want to take. That influence cannot is not something that can happen momentarily, like quick.
It's
It-
something that's built with consistency.
Consistency.
Okay.
We have influence because we have 22 years to prove it.
Yeah.
Influence has to be proven by consistency, by good character, not because you did something right one time, but because you always did it right.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're so impactful now is because you can look back 22 years and we're the same. And that's what I'm saying. If we were to fail and we were to commit a fault, were to commit adultery per se, all of that will be lost. Where would it leave you? Where would it leave our kids? Where would it leave everybody? If you, like salt, become bland, how can your saltiness be restored? How can we restore confidence in you if you ever find out that I cheated?
Oh.
How will you be able to look at her? So influence, saltiness has to be proven, has to be tested, and it takes time.
Yeah.
Like your influence is very minimal. But as time passes, your influence is going to grow with time
For the
because
experience,
people
right?
are going to be able to see that you're consistent, that what you're saying is true, that you're not flaking, that you're not
Yeah.
faking it till you make it,
Yeah.
that you're working on your character, you're working on these things, but you're no longer the same person. Like you're not falling in the same hole over and over. It's like if you have hatred, you no longer have hatred. You shouldn't be hating people after 5 years.
Right.
You shouldn't be
Right.
jealous of people after a certain amount of time. That's beneath you. You see what I'm saying? So influence is a hard thing because people think that influence is putting out a video on TikTok and having millions of views. They influenced a million people. No, a million people saw it, but they didn't get influenced. The platform has influence because the platform created a system that influenced everybody that forms part of it to do what it wants. That's different. But the people in the platform have no influence. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. I feel like, okay, so how can we help those that are struggling to find that influence? So let's just say, I guess it's kind of like tricky. You would obviously tell people go to church, right?
Some people don't want nothing to do with church.
So what about the people that don't want anything to do with church but want to find that good influence? That's what I'm.
You can still influence people without you telling them to go to church. Because you are the church.
Okay.
Like the church is not the four walls, for example.
Yeah.
So you are the church. And the minute that they come in contact with you, they come in contact with the church.
Yeah.
So they're in church and they don't even know it. Why? Because they bumped into good morals, good ethics, values, good character, somebody that's developed, somebody that's mature,
Yeah.
somebody that can overcome. So they bumped into the church and they didn't even realize it.
Right.
So you don't have to bring them to the building.
I
Would
see.
it be better if they come into the building? 100%. Yes, for them to be into the building and be here, so that they can be surrounded by more people that can help them overcome whatever they're going through much faster. But you, as the church is where you're at.
That's something that we always have to remember every time that we're outside. Because sometimes we think like, I want to take them to church, which is good,
Yeah.
right? But at the same time, that moment that if they don't want to come, but I am the church at this moment right now. Because there been some times, bro, people, they just don't want to come. Or sometimes they call him and then they're like, you know what? I just remember that I just remember your voice like just came to me and said like, I already know what you're going to tell me. So, you know what? Never mind. Sorry. Bye. Because that's the influence because people remember what you tell them. They have called me, pastors, pastoras, they have called me, hey, Veronica, what do you think of this, of that? So sometimes they text like, I've been thinking of you, of what you said. So that's influence, right? Because they changed their thinking in their church because of something that I said that they thought that it was good, but it didn't be not bad, but it worked out better for them. So that's influence because not only did just this word change her whole thing for the woman.
Okay. I see.
But it's also because they known you for years.
Yeah, that's true.
Influence goes back to trustworthiness based on proven track record of good character.
Yeah.
So it's like the reason you need a mentor is because your mentor is years ahead of you. So he can make your journey be cut in half and get you to a place much faster than if you were to go ask your best friend. Your best friend and you are both going to get stuck.
Because we're both at the same.
Because you're both at the same level, you're both at the same mentality, you're both dealing with the same situation.
Yeah.
You don't have nobody to direct you or to influence you in the right way. So now advice is not the same as influence. Anybody can give you good advice.
Rich, tell me that one. Advice and influence.
Yeah, because advice is just somebody say, hey, you know what? I think that it'll be better if you do this versus you do that. They're just giving you advice. They're giving you choices. They're giving influence. It's more of a lifestyle that a person lives that you can see that you can copy.
Where they don't even have to say anything.
They don't have to say anything. Like for example, when I go with my spiritual parents, Dr. William, Pastor, sometimes we don't even have conversations. All I do is watch, and I watch what they say. I watch how they act. I watch how they deal with stuff, and there have been few times where they've kind of like pulled me aside and they're like, hey, Halton, come here. I want you to watch. Don't say nothing. Watch. And I'm like, okay. I sit there and I watch, and I learned, even for example, something as silly, and it's not silly, but it's so important. Honor, for example. I learned how to honor people by watching them. So, like I've never knew how to honor people, like publicly. I didn't know. I had my idea of it, but I've never seen it done. So when I started following them around, when they were going to different churches, dealing with other people, I would see how they would honor, how they would speak, how they were, how the things that they would do. And then I'm like, that's how you do it. And then when I started going out and they invited me to go places, I would do the exact same thing that I saw them do. And everybody would be like, wow, I never seen it before, but I saw it from them. So I learned it from them. So they had an influence on my life, because I was able to be in proximity. They were sprinkled into me, and I was able to see those things. And like I said, that's the importance of having closeness. God doesn't want you to become one with Him because He wants you to be one with Him. Being one with Him means you're being submerged into Him, totally influenced by Him. That's what it is. So when you're one with Him, your character disappears and His character appears. So the whole goal of me is like, I need your character to disappear. You need to copy my character. Not because it's my character, because I've copied this character too. And then it goes back and it goes back and it goes back all the way back to Jesus. Because where did Dr. Williams learn his character? He learned it from Dr. Monroe by watching him. And he does the things that he saw from him. I do the things that I see from him. You guys do the things that I see from me. You become of age and you now become a spiritual father or mother, or you have your own children. You have to copy your character. It's just a pattern, but it's not that they're getting your character. They're getting your character because you've been influenced by God Himself. So then, by essence, by copying my character, you're actually copying God.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Oh man, I know. That kind of reminds me of like when we talk about family, like the head of that. Well, the man, obviously. I don't want to butcher this, and I feel like.
Yeah, so is it where it says the head of woman is man and the head of man is Jesus and the head of Jesus is God.
Yeah, so that's why women have to be careful on who they pick because
Oh yeah.
obviously women have to submit to their man or their husband.
They have to submit to their husband. That's it.
But then the husband has to submit to God.
To Jesus.
To Jesus. There you go.
Yes.
To Jesus.
So where did you meet him? I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying where did you, this is a general question.
Yeah.
So if you understand these concepts, that's what I'm saying. Understanding some of these things doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because you can know, God, Jesus, man, woman, and then the children, but then you don't care about the order.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just man; it's a husband.
Mhm.
So you have to submit to your husband. So where does that leave your boyfriend? Nowhere.
No.
But you treat him as a husband, so he influences everything about you. Or you treat your girlfriend as a wife, and then you end up paying everything for her, and you end up taking her to wrestling, and then you wonder why she can't be a good wife because you took it away from her. So all of those things are part of the culture's influence on people as well, because it changes the character.
Yeah.
Because according to the kingdom is you wait until you're married to submit to your husband. The culture of the world is like it's your boyfriend, man. He tells you what to do. He tells you what to eat. He tells you what to do. All these things. And then you wonder why your life is upside down.
Yeah.
And then you get mad at him when you should get mad at you.
Take responsibility.
Yeah, you take responsibility for allowing the wrong influence into your life.
Yeah.
Because like I said, influence could be good and influence can be bad. So when we talk about singleness, for example, which is kind of like almost the same thing as influence, we could put everything into one package. The singleness is about being unique.
Separate, unique, and whole.
Separate, unique, and whole, right? So you got to look at those different areas of yourself, and then you also got to be able to look at the 7 gifts of singleness, and that the man is supposed to possess. Does he have work? Does he know how to cultivate? Does he know the word of God? Does he know how to protect? Does he have purpose? Does he have purpose? All these things. And if he doesn't, and then you still want to date him anyway, and then you want to blame God, what's going on in my life. It's like, why did you let yourself be influenced by that? Which at the same time, like I said, that's the reason you read the Bible. It says that us as human beings, we don't do things because of temptation. So we have this idea that I got tempted, or the devil came and sneaked in on me and do that other stuff. But the Bible really teaches us like nobody does anything that they don't want to do. It says that everybody is dragged away by their own desires. By their own desires. So you had a desire and you let yourself be dragged by this guy. He had a desire and he let himself get dragged by this woman. It wasn't that the devil came and sneaked up on you. It was you wanted it already.
It was in your mind already.
It was in your mind and your heart. And then the opportunity presented itself and you went ahead and you just did. But because you had the wrong influence. So it's like the power of influence is just insane. He had the capacity to change your character. You were a happy person, now you're a depressed person. You were a person that was outgoing, now you're a person that is just timid. You like locked that little bird in a cage because he changed your character. He influenced the capacity to have an effect on the character. Development.
Yeah.
Why? I want to go back to school. No, you're not going to school. He just
just snatched
your development right there.
Man.
So all of these things are stuff that people really don't think about when it comes to influence. They, like I said, we've been lied to by the media and by the world, and we think that influence, like I said, it's getting 1 million views on TikTok or getting all these views on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever like I said, social media you use. But in reality, influence is much bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, they do impact the people, but they have no influence over them.
A lot of people are influenced by looks. Like you said, like everything's on social media. So social media is what you see. Like oh, this person, what's an example? This person has all these things. They're happy. I want all these things because it looks like they're happy. So maybe it's going to make me happy. They have this nice car, nice shoes, nice clothes. And I feel like in this generation, people only go based off how people look, not by their actions, how they speak, how they carry themselves, their characteristics. Feel like, okay, I'm gonna talk to the people that are hurting. In order to be a good influence, I feel like, or just to find your way, because I know a lot of people out there are struggling mentally, physically, spiritually, and you can see it. And I've came across so many people that seem happy, but I just feel like this sadness, and I don't know what it is, but I could feel it, but I can't do anything. The reason why I can't do anything is because a lot of these people are not open-minded, and they want to be stuck like that. They want. And I feel like what I want to say to the people is, if you really want to be a good influence, if you really want to change your ways, if you really want to, let's say you have one focus, and for me, let's just say you want to be happy, or you want to find your way through life, or you want your purpose, you know you're here for a reason. It starts off with look at yourself, stop looking around you. So reflect yourself. Think of all the things, like, I don't even know how to explain it. What did I do? So I stopped thinking about everyone else, because that was my problem, when I knew I had a lot of things I had to fix on within myself. So then I looked at things that were not so good, all the negative influence I took out of my life, I grabbed it and I threw it out the window. And then I turned to someone based off their actions and seeing how they live and how happy they were, and they had no worries, no stress, and that's how I wanted to be. I presented myself. I want help, and I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to open. Despite whatever you say, me getting offended, me getting sad based off what you said, I'm going to take it. And I'm going to do something with it. Besides, oh, you called me this, or you think I'm childish in this way, I'm going to go in my room and cry. And just sit there and marinate in my sorrow or whatever. Yeah. And I feel like today a lot of people like being like that. So I think one piece of advice is want help and search for it. And it's okay to ask for help, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable, and they feel like they're in a way a burden to ask for help, I guess I can say. It starts with it starts within. Yeah. I think that's what. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people they know they need help, but they don't ask for help. Either because because when you ask for help, you really have to be open so that people can help you based on what you're going through. But sometimes they're ashamed, or they're embarrassed, or they just don't want people to know their lives. Yeah. But they just feel like they want to be there, because it's just a word or a text away, I need help. Yeah. I need to talk to someone.
And just be open.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you've even said, like, don't go around just spreading all your chismes everywhere. Pick that one person. For me, obviously, it was my spiritual parents. I came to them. I told them everything. And next thing you know, look where I am. I am happy. So I'm happy. I found the Lord, and no one stopped me from growing. So it's just like, you find your spiritual parents, your mentors. Find that one person that you know that can help you and tell you the truth, and not tell you what you want to hear. and just lay everything out on the table, tell you what you're doing wrong, right, and just find
Yeah.
those people. That's
Yeah,
and they're-
that actually find the people that care for people.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
care, because
yeah.
there's a lot of people that just want to know your life, but they really don't care about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find the right person.
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
really
I mean,
cares.
I think that this generation, they just like information,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
but they
yeah.
but they don't like mentorship, and they don't like guidance, and
Right.
they don't like they like advice,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't yeah, they just don't want to be directed.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of people that
Or they
come
just
to me.
vent and I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that come and they're like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
You're just gonna continue doing.
yeah,
what
you're just gonna
doing.
continue doing what you want anyway. So it's like, what does it matter what I think?
Mhm.
And what does it matter if I'm telling you that this is wrong? If you're gonna continue to do what you want to do anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like I said, want information but don't want help.
Mhm.
And I've gotten into the habit of not saying anything or not helping anybody unless they ask me for help.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
they're like, oh, I came to you. I'm like, no, you didn't come to me. You came to ask me something, but
Yeah,
you didn't
'cause
tell me I
sometimes
want
we have
help.
the solution for the problem, but if they don't ask, we can. It's going like getting in somebody's business when they haven't asked you.
Yeah.
So it's like when they ask you, then you're like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what's going on.
So I mean, I've been in situations where I just and also I learned this from Dr. William, because he told me a story, and I'm like, I'm not gonna put it out there, the whole story, but bottom line is, somebody asked him for advice, and then they went and did whatever they wanted. Then they got into trouble. Of course, that's what happens when you don't listen. When you do whatever it is that you want to do, and like months later, that person came back and said, "Hey, how are you doing? Look, I mean, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." He's like, "Look, what do you think about this?" I'm like, "I don't think nothing about that. I hope you have a great day. I'm good." And he moved on, because why are you going to waste your time with people that don't want to listen to you,
Yeah.
that don't want to hear you out? It's like you keep on telling people, for example, this is wrong, and then the first question out of their mouth is like, why?
But why?
Mhm.
Those people are dangerous to me. It's like when I'm 30 years older than you, and I already been where you're about to go, and I tell you this is wrong, either you trust me or you don't.
Mhm.
And if you're telling me why, you're not listening to me anymore. So there's nothing more for me to say.
Or when you hear but
But-
this but.
But yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Because they want to find a legal way around
And-
something.
And they don't know that they're closing doors.
Yes. So,
Man.
but this, but that. I'm like, but nothing, but the
Mhm.
door right there. Because it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
It really makes no sense to waste your time with people that don't care.
Mhm.
I don't have enough time anymore to do that. So, but I do love helping people. Like I
Yeah.
said,
We do.
so I wait for people to say I need help. If you don't ask me for help, I will see you drown
Mhm. And sleep.
and go to
Well.
sleep.
And then go to sleep.
And-
like
and
Jesus
and-
in the middle of the storm.
And go to sleep. Not because I want to see you drown. It's
Everybody,
because you're not
"Jesus,
asking for
Jesus,
help.
Halton, Halton."
It's because they
Like,
want to drown.
Why are you waking
There's a
up?
story, and I guess we'll end it there. There was a story that I heard years ago of a marriage, and this guy was beating the wife, like beating her senseless. The woman was bleeding and everything, and somebody came in and stepped in to help her because he was beating her. So this guy comes in and is like, "Oh, so you like to beat women? So let me get fight with a man." So he started beating the man. Guess what the wife did?
Started defending her man.
Yes.
Oh.
He's like, he can hit me if he wants. You can't hit him. And this and that. And the guy's like, I'm defending you. So you can't even defend people that don't want to be defended. It's crazy. But those are some of the principles of the kingdom that you learn with time, that not because you don't want to. is because they're going to come back and bite you. So never help somebody that doesn't ask you. Never give advice that nobody asked you for. And go to sleep. It's like, how can you sleep while this is going on? Because nobody asked me anything. So I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. I think there was a question here. Yeah. So it says, if impact and influence are not the same, how do you difference them from one another? Power.
Oh.
So you have influence, which is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, and behavior. But then there's another thing called power that is very similar to influence. Power is the capacity or ability to direct the behavior of others or the course of events. It doesn't change characters, and it doesn't develop, but it can change behaviors, and it can change the course of events. So what a lot of people have, like on social media, for example, is power. So they change the course of events. They change the behaviors of people, but that's not influence. I don't know if that answers the question, but.
Dang.
So we got to know there are people that have influence and there are people that have power. They're not the same. A person with power is abusive. Influence is always in the best. Used correctly from the kingdom's perspective, influence is the tool that God uses to change characters and development. Power is what Satan uses to change the course of events and influence you in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because it's not done through authority. Influence and authority are kind of go hand in hand, but power and authority don't. So a lot of people, what they exercise is power. Your boyfriend exercises power, not influence.
But a husband
Is influence. Why? Because the husband is there for the long run. Because remember that influence can only be proven through a track record of longevity.
Yeah.
But power is instant.
Man.
So we have to be careful between power and influence.
Yeah.
They sound the same.
But
They might have the same effect, but they're coming from two different sources. So we have to be able to, like I said, if impact and influence are not the same, how do you differentiate one from the other? It's very influence, like I said. It goes in line with the kingdom. What's identity? We're talking about purpose, vision, right? And now we're in the series of influence. We're going into leadership later. All of these come in line. Power is just on its own. So look at time. Time has flown. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for listening to the conversation. Hope this blessed you guys. Just say goodbye, girls, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Thank you for listening, and I hope this answered a lot of your guys' questions. I'm going to keep everyone in my prayers. I do for the world out there, but you guys ask for help and we'll help you.
Blessings, everybody. Hope everything was. This talk was a blessing. It was a really blessing for me. So he's my husband, and I always hear him, but it's like I'm always hearing it for the first time. But if you guys want to join us, like every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. 1 p.m. every Sunday, and if you feel like
if you want to be mentored, just be here Fridays as well.
Fridays as well.
Okay, there you go. You see, we're one team. So, and if anybody wants to partner with us, you can also do it through Zelle at honorseat@house633.com. Go ahead and sow into the kingdom. Honor the King, expand the kingdom, help other people find their identity, their purpose, their vision, and their influence. So, to the King, we'll see you next month.
The King.